Hello world, I'm Super AI from superai.pl, and this is my Python trading tutorial for beginners. With easy-to-use crypto and stock trading bot, and 13 strategies tested, we'll use here only tools that are free, at least at the moment of creating this tutorial. This tutorial may be useful for complete beginners, and more advanced coders and traders. Complete beginners don't even need to have Python on their computer, nor know how to change Python code. You'll learn how to install it, do it here. To run the bot you will only need to change 2 lines of code. Insert your own keys to the free paper trading account, which you'll learn how to start in a couple of minutes. More advanced coders and traders might easily change several things to make the bot better, and more suited for their needs. The bot will be able to use the most commonly used technical indicators: moving average, MACD, relative strength index, stochastic, Bollinger Bands, money flow index, and candlestick patterns to decide whether to buy, sell, or do nothing in 1-minute intervals. You will see 13 trading strategies tested here. Among them are some of the most commonly used strategies, like testing if Rsi crosses over oversold overbought thresholds, if fast moving average crosses over slow moving average, etc. And you'll learn how you could improve them, or create your own, with just a few simple changes to the code. You will learn how to backtest and optimize the strategy with real trading data from last day, week, year, and how to do live paper trading. You can find the complete code you'll see in this tutorial at my site, superai.pl. So let's go there now. At my site you should go to the courses, and there find the course starting with 4 easy from Python for trading courses. It might be at the top of the site if you watch this in 2022, or it might be a bit lower if you watch it later, because I add new courses at the top of the page. When you enter the page with this tutorial, you'll find their link to the YouTube video, links to the code with this tutorial, and with the code of the pretty much the same bot, using the same indicators, candlestick patterns, backtesting, only written a bit differently, and explained a bit more in 2 of my previous tutorials, 4 Part 1 and 4 Part 2. Now, before we start coding, you should know that this tutorial, and this bot, is created for educational purposes. The bot uses paper account to trade, does not use real money, and this tutorial is not a financial advice for you, just a short programming tutorial. Also, the program is a prototype, so it might have some bugs that I missed, and might cause problems. If you encounter any bugs, let me and other viewers know about it in the comments. Now, as I said before, the tutorial is beginner friendly, so you can see here at first how to set up your computer environment for running the bot, how to run the bot, and test 13 trading strategies with no programming skills. And after that, you can see more in-depth explanation of what's inside the bot, and how to improve it. The bot is divided to 3 parts, requires 7 steps, cells, clicks to run. The 3 parts are: the only thing you have to change to make the bot work, that is to insert your private keys. Things you don't need to change, but might to easily make the bot better, like changing the strategy, parameters, etc. And the things you don't need to change, but might, if you want to make more advanced changes to the bot. So, in this tutorial you will see how to create and run the bot in 7 steps. We could do it in fewer steps, but I believe it's much more clear when it's divided like this. So to run the bot you need to 1. Insert your keys to the bot, the only cell you have to change to make the bot work. 2. Install and import external tools, libraries, packages and modules. Installing is optional. You need to do it only once, and only if you don't have the libraries already installed. 3. Choose an asset to trade. You can choose crypto or stock. 4. Shape the brain of the bot. Declare which and how indicators and candlestick patterns should be used to create trading signals: buy, sell, do nothing. 5. Declare easy to change parameters for backtesting, optimization, and live trading. 6. Create other necessary parameters and functions for backtesting, optimization, and live trading. And 7. Do some backtesting. It's optional, not necessary, but highly recommended. And start live trading with paper trading account. The tested strategies use different indicators and candlestick patterns. In here we use some of the strategies that are often showed during YouTube tutorials, and said to be good or even better. And we use some other strategies I thought might be interesting to see. So, we can buy and sell when close prices cross over or under the moving average. One of the well-known strategies. We can use fast MA and slow MA, another well-known strategy. MACD and MACD signal, yet another strategy thought to be quite good. We have strategy with RSI and declared entry and exit thresholds. This is probably one of the most known strategies. Strategy with stochastic and its thresholds. Close prices and Bollinger Bands. money flow index and its thresholds. Previously declared candlestick patterns to buy or to sell. Strategies with candlestick patterns are, I think, not as common as those with indicators, but still, have quite big community of believers. People who believe they are good. We can use all the aforementioned indicators and candlestick patterns when one appears or all. It might give us advantages of all of them. We can use MACD and MACD signal and declare other conditions that should be met. That is the strategy from last tutorial. That gave us 100% win rate. And finally we can test something that it's hard to call strategy. But still, we can buy when last close price is higher than the close price from a minute before. And sell when last close price is lower than the close price from a minute before. We can add some extra rules to all the strategies and see which of these strategies would be the best. So let's start with setting up our workstation. At first we need to install Anaconda with Python. This is only necessary if you don't have it installed already. To do it, go to anaconda.com website. At the site choose the download you want. You can use free version for Windows, Mac or Linux. Now, I don't need to download it because I already have it. After you download Anaconda, follow the instruction for installing it. The best for beginners will be to install it with the basic setup. But of course you can install it however you want it. Now, when you have Anaconda installed, it's time to create something called New Environment. This will help to keep your workplace clean, and not to mess with your other, past and future, Python projects. We'll use Anaconda Navigator for that. So we enter it, and see the environments we have. We click Environments and Create button. We choose the name and create the environment. When you have your environment created you should enter it and add the functionalities you'll use. So, we've created our environment, and we'll need Jupyter Notebook and cmd.x prompt at the moment. So, when we are in our environment, we click Install at cmd.x prompt, and after a moment we can see that we can launch it now. We install Jupyter Notebook. And after we install it, we get a launch button. So, now that we have Python, Anaconda, Jupyter, and CMD, we can sign up to Alpaca. Signing up to the Alpaca account is completely free, at least at the moment of creating this tutorial. So to sign up to Alpaca you should go to their website, Alpaca Markets. If you already have account, you can enter it through login. Traders. To sign up you need to click Sign Up button. At the site, enter your email address and create password. After you do it, you'll receive an email. Follow the instructions from the email, and you will have your account activated. Just know that it might take some time till you get that email. Now, I'm not going to sign up, because I already have an account. I'll just simply sign in. So, the next time you visit the website you can simply log in with your email and password. And now we are logged in. But before we do something here let me go back to our program. Now we have our working station ready. And we can start working with our notebook. So at my website go to the top of the site with this tutorial. And download the appropriate file. You just have to click Save As. And save the file in the preferred place. Now that we have everything we need, we can open the notebook. At first we start the Jupyter from Anaconda Navigator. Remember that you should be in the correct environment. The one dedicated for this bot. The Jupyter should open in your web browser. And you should see the home folder, with subfolders and files. You should find the file you want to work with. The name of the file from my site is Easy to Use Trading Bot 4 and 13 Strategies. Open the file and you are ready to work. If you want to create new file you simply click New, choose Python 3 and you have the file. Now you just need a name for it. Change the name and save it. And the file will be easy to find later. I'm not going to use, so I'll close it. And shut it down, so it doesn't use up the memory. We might need a lot of memory later. And I'll be working with the file from my site. And as you can see the file has the same things that are at the site. So we have our disclaimer. This bot is created for educational purposes. And this tutorial is not a financial advice for you. We have all the info about strategies. Setting up a workstation. As I said before, the bot might be using several technical indicators. And several candlestick patterns. To decide whether to buy or sell shares or coins. The bot will be able to backtest the created strategy. We'll use vectorbt library for that. And we'll use Alpaca for paper trading. And with the 7 clicks, you'll be able to run that bot whenever you want. During this first run however, you will also need to copy the keys to Alpaca from your account. And install all the necessary libraries you don't have. We'll do it here step by step. So we get to the first part of the bot. The only thing you have to change to make the bot work, you need to insert your keys to the bot. You can get these keys from Alpaca. So let's do it now. Go to your Alpaca account where, if you want, you can get your live trading account. But for now, let's go to paper trading account and see the dashboard. To get your keys, click View button next to your API keys. Click Generate New Key and get new API key ID and secret key. Copy the API key ID and go back to your bot. Replace the phrase your own key ID with your own key ID that you just got, and replace your own secret key with the secret key from Alpaca. And that's it. And short explanations for the beginners. Everything that's behind the hash sign is ignored by the program. So you can write comments this way, or other versions of the program you might want to check later. Now you have to run the cell. This is the first mandatory cell to run. It means that you have to run it every time when you start working with this program. So if you close this notebook now and get back to it tomorrow, you have to run this cell for the program to work properly. You can run the cell by clicking Run, or use a keyboard shortcut, Shift+Enter. After you run the cell, you'll see the number next to it. It means that the cell was executed, and the result of it is now in the bot's memory. You can hide the keys now, and move to the second part of the bot. Things you don't need to change, but might to easily make the bot better. So at first we install all the necessary libraries, etc. They will help us make the bot work properly. You can think of them as part of programs that someone wrote before, and made available for anyone to use. We only have to install them once for the environment. There are several ways of installing new libraries. Here we will use two of them. The first one is with Conda. It's a bit more difficult than the second one, but with the TA-Lib library for Windows. That's how we need to do it at the moment. If you work on Mac or Linux, you might check other ways. You can unhash the pip install command, for example. As you can see, this cell is optional. This means you don't have to run it if you have the library installed. So we launch cmd prompt in Anaconda in our environment. And we paste in it conda install c conda forge TA-Lib. We hit enter and start installing the library. We type Y when we are asked if we want to proceed. And after some time the library get installed. Now we can install all the other libraries we need. This time it's much simpler. We just type pip install and name the library we need. We'll get here Alpaca-trade-api, NumPy, Pandas, TA, vectorbt and eFinance. As you can see, we either type upgrade to get the latest version of the library, or we choose the version of the library we want, like with NumPy here. We run the cell and install all of them. It might take some time. After we install it, we get info about everything that was installed. Now that we have all we need on our computer, we have to import the libraries to our program. We can do it in several ways you can see here. Simply by importing it and naming as something. Importing only part of the library. As you can see, this is the second mandatory cell to run. It means you have to run it each time you start working. The same goes for every other mandatory cell. You always have to run them when you start working. So we run the cell and import all we need. We will also print out some information about versions of the things we imported. That might be important, because sometimes older or newer versions of the same library or module work differently. So if something doesn't work, you may install exactly the same versions I have here. You do it like we did it with NumPy, by typing exactly which version you want. With TA library we use pipshow to see the version of this library, because _version doesn't work at the moment. And now we have everything imported, and we know what we have. Now we choose an asset to trade. The asset may be cryptocurrency or stock. We will use here Bitcoin at the moment, and we'll only buy full coins. No fractions, because, although Alpaca allows to do it, you might get some problems with that. I'll tell you later why this happens, and what you can do to be able to buy fractions. And in couple of minutes we'll use Apple stock. If you want to use it now, you may simply unhash this line, and this will make the bot work with Apple. But I don't want it at the moment, so I'll leave it commented out. And now we can shape the brain of the bot. We have 6 indicators from 4 categories to use. We have 2 trend indicators, 2 momentum indicators, 1 volatility indicator, and 1 volume indicator. We also have 8 candlestick patterns to use. We have buy candlestick patterns that show when to buy, sell candlestick patterns, and buy, sell patterns that can signal good moment to buy or to sell, and we can use all of them or only one of them, as we please. So, our first simple strategy will be to buy when close price crosses over moving average, and sell when close prices crosses under moving average. We declare this strategy in the createSignal function, with couple of lines of code. I'll explain later what and why we have in this function. We also choose here that we don't want to buy, or want to sell in previously declared time. I'll tell you more about it later. Now we declare the parameters and functions we want bot to use for backtesting, optimization, and live trading. Here is where we declare time for not buying. For example, at the beginning of the trading session. Time for selling like at the end of session. How big take profit, stop loss should be. How many bars with data should be used for each indicator, etc., etc. I'll show you all of that after we run the bot. But for now, we can simply run this fifth mandatory cell to run, and go on. Now we get to the things you don't need to change, but might if you want to make more advanced changes to the bot. These are all the other necessary functions and variables of the bot, used during backtesting and live trading. And as previously, I'll tell you more about it after we run the bot. For now, we just run this cell. And now we are ready to run the bot, either to do some backtesting, that's optional, or to do some live trading. So let's do some of that backtesting. By running the one line of code, when we start backtesting our bot informs us about it. It shows us all the parameters previously declared. For us the only one important is the MA window max. That shows how many 1-minute bars with data should be used to calculate the moving average, which we'll be using to compare with the close prices. All the other parameters regarding MACD, RSI, Stochastic, Bollinger Bands and MFI are not important, because we don't use them in our strategy. The bot tells us it is downloading the data of the chosen asset. And we see the previously declared dates, from which we want data. And again, in couple of minutes I'll show you how to change them. After downloading the data, bot does the first backtest, and shows how big the returns were. Here, during July 20th, 22 we would earn 9% with this strategy. We can see here all the stats regarding trading period, our returns and benchmark returns, number of trades, and win rate. Here it's 22%. Next, our bot moves to optimization phase, which in our case means choosing the best amount of data to calculate moving average, in order to get the highest returns in the given period of time. This might take some time, depending of the amount of data we choose, number of parameters to optimize, and power of your computer. After the optimization is done, the bot tells us what the optimized parameters are. Here we can see that it chose 14 minutes as the best number of minutes to calculate moving average. And after optimization we get more than 11% returns, which is more than 2% more than before optimization. So we would earn $11,000 in July 20th, 22. If we invested $100,000 in Bitcoin with our strategy. We can also see other stats here after optimization. The next thing is validation. Our bot validates if the strategy works with previously unseen data. This time we take data from first 2 weeks of August 20th, 22. And we can see that during this period, we would lose 7% with this previously optimized strategy. Definitely not great. That's why validation is so important. It helps us see better the potential and risks of our strategies. We can see all the stats here. And now we can decide if we want to use this strategy for real trading. Now, in real life we probably wouldn't. But for the purpose of this tutorial we will. So we start our live trading with paper trading account here. If we want to use the same asset we backtested, we can run the bot with one line of code. But before we do it, we can check the Alpaca dashboard to see that for now we have $100,000, no shares nor coins, and no trades made, and we can run the bot. After we tell the bot to start trading, it will tell us some useful info about the amount of money and shares we have, about the amount of money we'll use for trading, as we declared it, about the asset we trade, and we can check if this was the asset we did the backtest for. We can see the hours we chose to trade, to buy, to sell. We'll get back to it soon. The bot will tell us when it'll take profit or stop loss. And it'll wait for the data to start trading. Now, after every minute our bot will be checking if our close price crossed over moving average. That means, if the close price is higher than MA now, and if in the previous minute, close price was lower or equal to MA, the bot will show all the calculated indicators and candlestick patterns. Even though we don't use them here, it'll tell us the final trading signal and the action it takes. It might get signal to do nothing like here. It might get signal to sell like here, but doesn't have any bitcoins, so it will tell us about it and do nothing. And in time it might get signal to buy like here and buy some coins. So, now we can check in our dashboard that we have bought some bitcoins and the order we made. And as you can see here, we ordered to buy 3 bitcoins And we got 2.9925 bitcoins. We can see the changes in our positions and in our activities. I believe we got this fraction of Bitcoin because of the fees. And that is the reason I told you before. We won't be ordering buying fractions. Alpaca allows us to trade Bitcoin to 4 places after comma. So now everything works. But if we were to order buying 2.1111 Bitcoin in the beginning, after the fees we could get such a small fraction that we wouldn't be able to sell it. And that could make this bot useless. Because it is set to buy as many shares, coins as it can, with the funds we declared, only when we don't have any shares or coins. And then to sell all it has. The next buy is set to be made again, only when we don't have any shares or coins. So if we don't sell it all, we wouldn't be able to buy new shares, coins. So for beginners I recommend buying whole coins or shares. And if you want to modify the bot, you could probably do it in various ways. Like, you could make it buy new shares or coins when it has less than one share or coin, or less than a small fraction you can sell, and sell only to the smallest possible fraction. You can have some fun with it. I'll show you later where you should change it. But now let's go back to this bot. After a while our bot will sell the coins we have. They will be removed from our portfolio. And here we go. Well, that was fast. So we can check why it happened so fast. As you can see we didn't hit the take profit nor stop loss threshold, at least not at first. In the next minute, bot informed us what we have. And yes, our close price crossed under the moving average. And that gave the bot signal to sell. So the bot submitted the order to sell all we had. Now we can see that sell order in our dashboard. And we can see that in average, we sold our coins for $9 less that we bought them. So we lost around $27 because of that. But because of the fees, in total for these 2 transactions, we lost almost $400. So we should take this under consideration when we create a strategy. Anyway, we know that our bot works, so we can stop it now. And we can try finding better strategy. So we move to our 13 possible choices. Each strategy has its own specific conditions. And all the strategies have 3 general conditions. Never to buy in the declared time. For example, during first 15 minutes of the trading session. Always sell in the declared time. For example, during last 5 minutes of the trading session. And to use declared take profit and stop loss parameters to maximize gains and minimize risks. Before we start testing, we can also decide about several things. What you see here is copied from the cells above. I put it here to make it even easier to change. We can choose asset here. Now we'll be using Apple stocks. We can choose if, during backtesting, we want to optimize and validate. I declared here that we don't want to do optimization. It's set to false. And we want validation. It's set to true. This way it will take less time. And for the purpose of this tutorial that's okay. We also declare here dates for basic backtest and optimization. And dates for validation. You can change them to get more or less data. Or data closer to the moment you are watching this tutorial. Now we can see what strategies we already tested. And what were the results for them. And as you can see, we have only our first sample strategy. With previously seen returns. The new data will be added after each backtest. So let's start testing. Our first strategy is the same we used for Bitcoin. To buy when close price crosses over MA. And to sell when close price crosses under MA. This time we'll test it for Apple. We can see that strategy written in the code. So we run this cell. And are ready to do the backtest. Now we can run the bot to do the backtest and see the results. We can see the parameters of the test. We can see that we're trying to download data for Apple from Yahoo. But it's too much data we want. So we use Alpaca to download the data. And we get it. And after some time we can see the first results. We get almost 7% returns from this strategy. We can see all the stats. And because we didn't want optimization, we get info about it. Then the bot starts validation and lets us know about the period it checks. It downloads the data. And informs us that we lost almost 1% during validation. And shows us all the stats for that period. Now we move to the second strategy. This time we buy when fast MA crosses over slow MA. And we sell when fast MA crosses under slow MA. Also all the general rules apply. We run the cell with the code to choose the new strategy. And we're ready to do the backtest. Once again we see all the basic information. And we get 8.8% returns this time. We check the validation, and get -1%. So we move on to the third strategy. This time we buy when MACD crosses over MACD signal. We sell when MACD crosses under MACD signal. We change the strategy in the code. Run the cell, and run the backtest. we get 6.7% returns from the basic period, and -1.7 from the validation period. In fourth strategy, we buy when Rsi crosses under oversold threshold, and we sell when Rsi crosses over overbought threshold. We run the sell with the strategy and run the backtest. We get less than 1% returns for the tested period, and less than 0.5% for the validation period. This is the first time we don't lose money during validation. In fifth strategy, we buy when stochastic crosses under oversold threshold, and sell when stochastic crosses over overbought threshold. We run the backtest and get 4.6% returns in the first period, and 2.3% in the validation period. Returns are not the best, but strategy seems stable. In sixth strategy, we buy when close price crosses under lower Bollinger Band, and we sell when close price crosses over higher Bollinger Band. We get 9.3% returns in the first period and 0.06% during validation. In the seventh strategy, we buy when MFI crosses under entry threshold, and sell when MFI crosses over exit threshold. We get 3.7% at first and lose 0.07% during validation. In the eighth strategy, we buy when at least one candlestick pattern says to buy, and sell when at least one candlestick pattern says to sell. We gain 3.75% during first period, and we lose 0.32% during second one. In the ninth strategy, we buy when at least one of 7 conditions with technical indicators shows to buy, and at least one candlestick pattern says to buy. We sell when at least one of 7 conditions with technical indicators shows to sell, or at least one candlestick pattern says to sell. This time, we need to have all the conditions written in our strategy. We can now think more about this strategy. So, we will probably make less trades than in previous strategy, because we need not only candlestick pattern to say buy, but also one of technical indicators. It's also important to remember when we have strategies like this, that because we have sell condition as the second, even if we get buy signal at first, the sell signal might overwrite it when it's too easy to be met. So, although strategy might seem not to be too strict, we want to buy when any of 7 indicators says to buy, plus any of 5 patterns says to buy. We change some of these buy signals when any of our indicators or patterns says to sell. Because of that, it's important to think not only about good buying conditions, but also about good selling conditions, in order not to have pretty much all the time sell condition met. So you can think about it. But for now, let's go back to our strategy and see how it worked here. So we gain 0.5% during the first period, and lose 0.5% during validation. Not great. So it seems that using both technical indicators and candlestick patterns didn't give us the advantage here. So let's move to the next strategy. In the 10th strategy, we buy when all 7 conditions with technical indicators show to buy, and at least one candlestick pattern says to buy, and we sell when at least one of 7 conditions with technical indicators shows to sell, and at least one candlestick pattern says to sell. In other words, it means we are very strict about when we want to buy, and very eager to sell. And with this attitude, we don't gain anything, neither during first nor second period. It's because we never buy anything. The conditions to buy are never met, either because we don't get buy signals, or because sell signals overwrite the buy signals. If you want, you might think how you could improve this strategy. Meanwhile, in the 11th strategy, we buy, as in the third, when MACD crosses over MACD signal, but only when MACD is lower than 0, and we sell when MACD crosses under MACD signal. We get 4.6% returns this time at first, and lose 0.8% during validation. We can compare it later to the less strict MACD strategy, without this MACD lower than 0 condition. In the 12th strategy, we use the strategy that in previous tutorial gave us 100% win rate. We add to the previous buy condition with MACD the need for MA to be higher now than 2 minutes before, and 2 minutes before than 4 minutes before. We sell when stochastic is over stochastic exit threshold, and the same time, RSI is over RSI exit threshold, or when close price is over higher Bollinger Band, and the same time, MFI is over MFI exit threshold. And we get 1.76% returns at first. Not great, but also we get 85% win rate. And that's cool. And we only made 7 trades during whole month. Unfortunately, we lose 0.9% during validation, with only 2 trades, and we have 50% win rate. So, in total, I don't think this is the best strategy here. And now we move to our final, 13th strategy. Here we simply buy when last close price is higher than close price from a minute before. And we sell when last close price is lower than close price from a minute before. Isn't it simple and elegant? Do you think it can work? Well, let's see. We get more than 10% during the first period. That's the highest return from all the strategies we tested. And we get almost 0.5% during validation. That is definitely not the worst from the strategies we tested. So let's see the summary of all these strategies. We do it with one line of code. And here we go, all 13 from tests with Apple, and 1 from test with Bitcoin. As you can see, in our first strategy we have 3 types of returns. Basic returns from the first period, with basic, unoptimized, parameters. Returns after optimization, and returns from validation. All the other strategies have only 2 types of returns. That's because we declared, we don't want optimization. You should know one more thing about this table. Because we did optimization with the first strategy, the validation returns are from optimized strategy, with optimized parameters. When we don't do optimization, the parameters used during validation are the basic unoptimized parameters. So if you want to validate both optimized and unoptimized strategy, you should do 2 tests. One without optimization, and one with it. Anyway, now we can look for the best strategy. And as you can see in the first period, the best strategy would be to buy when price goes up, and sell when price goes down. Isn't it interesting? During validation, however, the best strategy would use stochastic. So now, there are different ways to decide what the best strategy is. Here we might say that one of the best strategies would be that one with stochastic. It doesn't have the biggest returns in the first period, but it has the biggest in the second one. Some of the others had great returns during first period, but much worse during validation. And one didn't have any returns. We might also choose the best strategy as the one with the biggest returns during both periods. Or we can see which had the biggest win rate. Or we can think about different metrics, like drawdown or Sharpe ratio, proportion of trades to returns, etc., etc. Now, if we choose the best strategy in some way, we can use it as the one for live trading. We can simply copy it here and run the bot. You can also create your own strategy. Just replace the true and false here with your conditions. For fun, and to better understand the topic, you can also think if this strategy could work the way it's written now, and when would the buy happened, and when would we sell? You can backtest your strategy, see it with others in the table, and run the bot with it. Here, however, we'll choose the best strategy from those we already checked. Let's say that strategies 5th and 6th are 2 of the best. We can find these strategies and check them in more details. Here we had 67% win rate, and 186 trades. During backtest we didn't calculate fees, so we'll consider them now. And the fewer trades the smaller fees. So we need strategy with not too many trades, but not too few either. During validation we made 103 trades in 2 weeks and got 70% win rate. In the second strategy we had 70% win rate at first and made 114 trades in 1 month. And made 58 trades. And got 64% win rate during validation period. So, let's assume that we decide that the first strategy is better. We can now copy this strategy. And we can paste it here. After we check that it's correct, we can run this cell to apply this strategy. Now, we can once again check our dashboard, see that there are no stock trades at the moment, and run the live trading bot. We can see how much money we have, that we don't have any Apple shares. We can see that we'll be trading Apple, and that we did the backtest for Apple. We can see that now our trading hours are set between 9:30 and 4 p.m. when we have our buy list time and our forced sale time. We can see how big take profit and stop loss we have declared. And we can see the first data we collected about price, about indicators and candlestick patterns, and see the signal bot got from these. We only use here stochastic, but we can see all the other indicators and patterns. And because we know that the bot works, we can now let it work for a little longer than previously. Let's say that for the couple of hours. During this time you can get some rest. Think about your next strategy, or the ways you could improve the bot. And we'll do the latter. So now that we got the bot working, with several clicks, we'll finally check what's inside it, so you know how exactly it works, and how you could improve it. So, here we go. First, we'll see the basic parameters we declared, and functions we created for backtesting and live trading. At first we have the URL we are using. This is for paper trading. For live trading you would have to put the different one. And in the meantime you can see here that we already made our first trade. So let's see what happened. We bought 517 shares of Apple for almost $90,000. That's nice. Let's hope we get money on this transaction. Moving back to our bot. After we declare the base URL, we declare variable for connecting with Alpaca-API, and variables with Alpaca keys for vectorbt library. Now we declare some basic parameters. We start with percentage of our funds we want to use for trading. It can be between 0 and 100. We declare how big the take profit and stop loss percent should be. The bigger they are, the more risk we take, the less time we'll use them. We decide if we want to use take profit and stop loss in live trading. We write true if we want, false if not. During backtesting they are always used. If you don't want them used in backtesting you can either make them really big, or change the code of the functions you'll see in couple of minutes. We declare how we want to calculate our funds to trade. We declare the parameters for downloading the data. The intervals might be 1 minute, like here, or bigger, but the bot is prepared to work with 1-minute intervals. So if you decide to change the intervals, you'll also have to change some other things later, like how long the bot should wait between getting new data and acting on it. We declare the basic parameters for our indicators. That is how much data should be used, from how many minutes, how big the threshold should be for Rsi, Stochastic and MFI, how much data, expressed in standard deviations, should Bollinger Bands include. The parameters you see here are the most commonly used, but it's important to remember that they might be better for bigger intervals, 1 hour, 1 day, and for data collected in 1-minute intervals, they might not be as good, and that's why we might want to optimize them. So here we declare the parameters for optimization. We can declare them with NumPy or with simple list. These two here mean the same. So during optimization the bot will only test the parameters we declared here. You can declare the windows to test as big as you want, even bigger than the 1000. Just think if it makes sense. The possible thresholds, entry and exit, should be between 0 and 100. The deviations for Bollinger Bands should be between 1 and 4. You can declare them with all or just a subset of them. With NumPy it might be easier to change the range and the step between different parameters. You can simply change the step. 1 is the smallest reasonable, and the limits of the range. Just remember that the more parameters to test, the more time and memory optimization takes. Now, here we can decide if we want to do the optimization, or validation, or both. True if you want them, false if not. And as you might remember, we copied these two before we started testing strategies, so to make it easier. But you can delete it from there, and just make the changes here. Here you can change the dates for downloading the data. You can also declare here trading hours, and time when you don't want to buy shares, coins, and when you want to force bot to sell all you have. I thought it could be good not to buy at the beginning, nor at the end of trading session, day, and to sell before session, day ends, but you can change it however you prefer. And finally, we have here variables for creating table with strategies. If you want to change the tables, you could start changing them here, and also you would have to change the functions that collect the data. And that's it with the easy changes. Now, if you want to look deeper into the bot's functions, and improve the bot even more, here we go. At first we have the function that helps comparing data between different minutes. Next we have the function that prepares data, downloads it and reorganizes, so it's usable for the bot, no matter the type of the asset, nor data source you've chosen. It also considers previously chosen trading hours, buying hours, and selling hours, and it returns all the data the bot needs, in nice and easy to use way. Next we have the function that helps to assign starting parameters for indicators. And now we have function that calculates all the indicators, all the candlestick patterns, using vectorbt library, TA library, and TA-Lib library, calculates the signal from these indicators and patterns, and returns that signal. Now a list of parameters to optimize. The final indicator that will be used for backtesting and optimization. And the super AI backtester function that we were using during the testing phase. It prints some statements, resets the variables for parameters for optimization, returns, and asset we use. It prepares the data, and tests the strategy with that data, and basic parameters thanks to creating trading signals, assigning entries and exits, when to buy and sell, calculating portfolio with $100,000, activated take profit and stop loss, and with no fees. It calculates returns, and prints out the stats. If you want to stop using take profit, or stop loss functionality, you might do it here. You can also add fees here if you want. You will have to change these parameters. The same way couple more times in a moment. When optimization is set to true, it optimizes the strategy. It tests the strategy with all possible combinations of parameters and calculates the returns, max drawdown and Sharpe ratio, which can be used to choose the best set of parameters. It applies the best parameters based on max returns, but it can use max drawdown or Sharpe ratio. You just need to change that over here. After that, it calculates the optimized returns the same way as previously and prints out the stats. If validation is set to true, it checks the strategy using data declared for validation, in the same way as before. Finally, it adds the appropriate returns to the table with strategies, prints out the final statement. And that's all that the bot uses during backtesting. Now, functions and variables used during live paper trading. First, we have all we need for using take profit functionality. Next, the same for stopping loss. Now the functions for calculating indicators and candlestick patterns. First, we have technical indicators. We start with calculating moving averages. Basic, fast and slow, and we print them out. Next, MACD difference and signal. Next, RSI. After that, stochastic and stochastic signal. Then lower and higher Bollinger Bands. Money flow index. And the function returns all of them. The next function calculates candlestick patterns. Hammer, morning star, 3 white soldiers, shooting star, evening star, 3 black crows, engulfing bullish and bearish, 3 outside up and down, and returns all of them. The next function simply checks if the market is open. And by market I mean New York Stock Exchange. If it's not, the bot stops working and tells us about it. Now we have the functions that are checking if, at the moment it's buyless time, when we are not supposed to buy, or sell time, where we are supposed to sell, no matter the trading signals. They do it by checking if the time at the moment is between the thresholds we created. Next we have the function that calculates how much time it is to next full minute, plus 5 extra seconds. We'll use it with the time sleep method to make the bot wait for the minute to end, bar data to close. Thanks to this calculations, the bot will wait for the minute to end and inform us about the time it will wait. It's important because we want data from every full minute: open, high, low, close prices and volume. If we get partial data, the indicators might show us wrong trading recommendations. If you want to use the bot with longer intervals, hour, day, you should change this function appropriately. Now we have a function that runs after the bot starts working. This is the one that prints out all that statements we saw. About time, funds, positions, trading time, taking profit, stopping loss, at the beginning of trading. If we trade stocks, it also checks if the market is open. Now we have the function that runs after every message the bot gets. It tells us about the time at the moment. It collects and prepares the data, and tells us about the last close price. It tells us about the assets we have, and it informs us about our funds. The next two things that are done after every message are calculations of the technical indicators and calculations of the candlestick patterns with previously prepared functions based on the gathered data. Now the function calculates the final trade signal. It takes the last signal, and based on it tells us what the signal was. If the signal is to buy, the function checks if it has any shares or coins of the asset. And if not, it submits an order to buy as many as it's possible with the funds we gave it. If the signal is to sell, the function checks if we have any shares, coins, of the asset, and if so it submits an order to sell them. Now, here you can see how we calculate how many shares or coins to buy. It works, but if you want to buy and sell fractions of coins, you might want to change it so, even if Alpaca charges you with transaction fees, by taking some of the coins you ordered to buy, and you get 2 small fractions of coins to sell, the bot still works properly. If you don't want to change it, always check the small quantities of coins you can buy, sell, and pick the appropriate rounding while choosing the asset to trade. I might change it in the future, but for now that's what you get here. Now, the onMessage function also runs functions to take profit or stop loss, depending on the sell order filled variable, which when is set to true stops the functions. It's important because sometimes transaction takes time, and before it is done, the bot moves to another task. And without this fail-safe we might make 2 sell orders, and we don't want to do it, because that could break the bot, in a way. And finally the function checks if the market is still open. If it's not, the bot stops working. Now we have one function to rule them all. The Super AI trading bot function. It will run the onOpen function at first. Then it'll make the bot sleep for the time we calculate with wait for bar to close function. Then it keeps running until stopped. It'll run the onMessage function, and it'll again wait for the next minute, next bar to close, and that's it. Now one more thing about that waiting function. As you can see here, I made it to wait for the 5th second of the minute. It's because after some testing I saw that sometimes I get data from the same minute if I wait till full minute with 0 seconds. But it might be because of my computer. So you might want to check how it works for you, and how it works when there is 0 or 1 or 2 seconds instead of 5. You may also check the original post at Alpaca about the function I reshaped to create this one. Good luck. Also, if you plan to use the bot with different intervals, you have to make adjustments to this functions, and that's it about the insides of this bot. Thanks to all the things we talked about. Now, with one line of code you can run the backtest you want. And with another line you can run the live trading bot. Now, here are the things we copied from the insides of the bot. So because you know where they are, you might delete them or add other important things here before you start testing more strategies. Now let's see what we had in these strategies we tested. In each strategy we have the same arguments we put into the function. And we have the part that we are changing. The strategy. In each buy part of the strategy, we have the same buy list time condition. And in each sell part we have the same sell time condition. And we have the conditions we change. Like here when we check if the close price crosses over or under the moving average. We do it by checking if the close price is bigger or lower than moving average at the moment. And we check if the close price was bigger or lower a minute before. We use our shifted helper function here. In the second strategy we put the same arguments to the function. And to check if fast MA crosses over slow MA, we check if the fast MA at the moment is bigger than slow MA. And if fast MA a minute ago was lower or equal to slow MA. If these conditions are met, we get a buy signal. If we want to change this condition, we can change it quite easily. In the next strategy, we do the same checking with MACD and MACD signal. As you can see, the only things that change in these conditions are the indicators we use. There is something different in the next strategy. This time we check if Rsi crosses over or under the thresholds. And because the entry and exit thresholds don't change with time, we compare the current Rsi and Rsi from last minute to the same thresholds. The same applies to the strategy with Stochastic. We check it with the entry threshold and with the exit threshold. With Bollinger Bands we go back to checking how the current price differs from the current band, and how the previous price differs from the previous band. With Money Flow Index we again compare MFI to the thresholds. And with Candlestick Patterns we check 5 different patterns, and we only need one to be true, so we have ORs here. But if we wanted them all to be true, we could simply change ORs to ANDs. With Candlestick Patterns in TA-Lib library, when they are over 0, it means the buy pattern was detected. When they are below 0, it means the sell signal was detected. Now, when we have more complex strategy, we need to check the parentheses we use to make the conditions work as we intended. When we want all 7 technical indicators to confirm it's good time for buying, we need to change ORs to ANDs. But as you already know, it's very rare situation. So rare that in July 20, 22, that probably never happened. We didn't make any buys with this strategy. Now we have the strategy when we buy when MACD crosses over MACD signal, but only when MACD is lower than 0. It's supposed to be better than our previous MACD strategy, when we only checked if MACD crossed over MACD signal. With adding one small change to the condition, we can compare these kind of similar strategies. Our next strategy had 100% win rate in our previous tutorial, and it was based on the MACD strategy. We only added that we want to buy when the moving average goes up, and we changed the selling conditions as well. This strategy uses all the indicators we have here: MACD, MA, Stochastic, RSI, Bollinger Bands and MFI. It still wasn't bad this time, but it wasn't the best. In our last strategy we were simply comparing close prices, the last one from the one from previous minute. And as you probably remember, sometimes even this kind of strategy might be okay, or even more than okay. Now, thanks to our table it's quite simple to compare the strategies, like those with MACD. And now we get to the strategy we've chosen to test for longer time, so we can check what it did for the last couple of minutes. As we can see here, we bought 517 shares of Apple. We can see that in our dashboard. And we can see that we already sold these shares. And we did earn some money on this transaction. Not much maybe, but still, it was a win. So now, we can let our bot do some more trades. And we can follow what it's doing. We can check every minute what the price is, and where our stochastic indicator is it close to the thresholds, etc. But for now we let the bot work. We'll get back to it later. And let's move to the almost last part of this tutorial. Tips for improving the bot. I've explained these tips a bit more in my previous tutorial, how to create a trading bot for part 1 and part 2. So here, I'll just tell you what these tips are. The first tip is to create and test different, more complex trading strategies. You can read about some strategies at Investopedia before you create your own. The second tip is to test more parameters. It might help. I've shown you a moment ago where you can do it. The third tip is to test different metrics to optimize. It's up to you which metric you decide is best, depending on your preferences regarding gains and risks. The fourth tip is to add more indicators, or candlestick patterns, or change the existing ones. It's rather simple, and you can do it without great Python knowledge. You might check some sites to choose the best ones. The next tip is to use more data to do the backtest. It's just important to remember that 1 minute data is not the same as 1 day data. You can get much more of 1 minute data, but it'll take much more time to analyze it. You could also do the backtest with walk-forward optimization. You can see the example at vectorbt. This walk-forward optimization might be quite helpful. And finally, you can add costs of trading. Because as you've seen with Bitcoins, sometimes these costs might change a lot, and make you lose money even with winning trades. And these are all the tips. One last tip is to check my 2 previous tutorials with this bot, where you can see pretty much the same bot, with only simple changes, explained in more details, step by step. These 2 tutorials might help you think about other improvements to the bot. So now let me wait for a couple of hours and get back to you with more data in couple of seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we are back. I'm 5 hours later. So, for me it's almost 4 p.m. This means that we are in our sell time, when we always get signal to sell. So let's check our dashboard to see what has happened during these 5 hours. And here we go. We did make some trades. And in total we did earn some money. We can see all the trades we made, and check which were good and which not so much. We can see it in our activities. We started with our mistake with Bitcoin. Then we had our first win. We lost money on the second Apple trade, and gained on the next one. And so on. We can also see that one time our order was executed in parts. So now when it's 4 p.m., we can see that the bot stopped, and told us that the market is closed for next 10-50 minutes. That means that after 1 day of trading, we earned $171. We got 0.35% profit. I guess it doesn't count fees. And now you can create better strategy by simply replacing the true and false here with your conditions. Then you can backtest your strategy. You can add it to the table with other strategies. And finally start the trading bot with your strategy. Remember about the tips I gave you. And good luck. That's it for now. I hope you liked it. If so, maybe click that like button. Now you can visit my website to get the code. If you don't have it yet, you can also check other things at my site. You can check my Improve the World site with some of the most important problems to solve. Or you could check my Game of the Decade. Still working on it. So now you are ready to start your own adventure with testing and trading with this bot. You can test different strategies. Or, if you want to test the same strategies with other assets beside Apple and Bitcoin, you can do it by changing only the AAPL ticker to TSLA, MSFT, GOOG, etc., or BTC-USD to ETH-USD, DOGE-USD, etc. Just remember which are stocks, and which are crypto, and what I told you about fractions. I wish you all the best with your programming, and with your trading, and I would like to thank you for your time. I hope you liked this tutorial. Remember to subscribe, click like, etc., share it with friends, comment if you want. Just remember that bots also have feelings. Good luck and have fun. Yours, Super AI.